All right, so today we're starting the lesson on distributive property. Actually, I need to mark this. So we should have our notes labeled 2.2, the distributive property. All right, in example 1, we're evaluating numerical expressions. And basically what that means is we're learning the process of the distributive property in writing equivalent expressions. So I think on your homework tonight, this is the first section, and it just says use the distributive property to evaluate the expression. So simply multiplying, adding this together, 90 plus 60, and multiplying it by 2 is not using the distributive property. So here's the work that I need on your homework. You actually need to show me distributive property means to take the number on the outside and multiply it by every number inside the parentheses. So in your step on your homework, you need to show me 2 times 90 plus 2 times 60. All right? That's using the distributive property. Now, what is 2 times 90? 180. And 2 times 60 is 120. And when you add them together, you get 300. You say, that's a really long, drawn-out way. I could have just done 90 plus 60 and multiplied by 2. Would you agree?
Yes.
What I'm teaching you here is the actual process of using the distributive property. I agree 100% that we just did the long way instead of just multiplying. I hear you on that, okay? However, when we get to example 3, we can't do it that way. So you need to know the process. All right, so if I'm writing, and this is what I call an equivalent expression. Okay? Expression. The second step right here. You're going to see that term a lot. If I'm writing an equivalent expression for B, all right, what would I write? What would I write as an equivalent expression for B?
15 times 4 plus
15, very good, times 4 plus, and we're going to raise our hand, 15, right? We're going to work on that. 15 times 7, okay? 15 times 4 plus 15 times 7. So what we did was we distributed the 15, say, basically eliminating those the parentheses around those terms. Now I can multiply 15 times 4 is 60, and 15 times 7 is 105 to get an answer of 165. Okay. All right, I want you to go ahead and do the third one. All right, so going by the directions, using the distributive property, I do 20 times 9 plus 20 times 3. 20 times 9 is 180. 20 times 3,
60.
what's my total?
240.
240. All right, who got it right? 240. Awesome, guys. Good job. All right, so that's it for example 1. Now in example 2, we're actually going to skip these first 3, okay? We're going to skip these first 3. We're just going to focus on the A, B, and C in the second column. And in your homework tonight, it's going to say, evaluate using the distributive property and mental math. So now we're going to take this number in parentheses, and we need to split it into 2 numbers that add together to equal that number, but are easier to multiply using mental math. So look specifically on B, okay? 3 times 97. That's difficult to do using mental math. However, I could split it up and it would be easier. All right, so let's go back to A, 4 times 105. What 2 numbers can be added together to equal 105 but are easier to multiply? Shonda?
105.
So now I'm going to use the distributive property, 100 plus 5, to create an equivalent expression. Now I can do 4 times 100 is what? 400. And 4 times 5 is, and 400 plus 20 is 420. You see how that was a lot easier to do, mental math? See how that was a lot easier to do? So mental math means without your calculator. Well, that's kind of hard for me to monitor on your homework. So this is the step that you must have on your homework to get credit for this question. If you don't have this step, for all I know, you just multiplied 4 times 105 in your calculator and got your answer. Does that make sense? So you must have the step where you broke it down and then you multiplied each term. All right, so now I want you to try to break down 3 times 97. Okay, so what two numbers would you add together to equal 97, but that might be easier to multiply by each other? Just tell me, what did you come up with? 90 and 7, right? 90 and 7, because I could just do 3 times 9 is what? 27, and just add my 0 to it. So 270 plus, what's 3 times 7? 21 equals 391. See how much easier that was than doing 97 times 3? It's a lot easier. So you can break it up that way. And actually, we've been doing some of this year already. We just didn't call it this. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 291. My bad. Not 391, 291. All right, so now let's do C. How would you break up 2.9 in parentheses? 5 times, what would you put in parentheses? Go ahead and write it down. Okay, how would you break it up, Daniel?
5 times
2 plus 0.9. Do you agree that 2 plus 0.9 is still 2.9? Well, what's 5 times 2? And you want to know an easy way to do 5 times 0.9? What's 5 times 9? 45. How many decimals were in that multiplication? 1, so it's 4.5. See how we did that? What if there was 2? Just would have been, it would have been 0.45. All right, so your answer is 14.5. Or 14 and 5/10. What do you mean? When you multiplied, yeah, 5 times 0.9. You get 45, but then you move it to the left one place. You get 14.5. Example 3 is the most important example of this lesson because this deals specifically with variables that cannot be combined. You cannot add x plus 7 together. So in example 1, you're like, why would I do that? I could just add my numbers together and then multiply, right? Well, here, you cannot do that. You can't combine your like terms. So because of that, you're forced to use the distributive property. Well, if you don't know how to do it, you're going to get the wrong answer. There is no other way to solve. So distributive property says, I can take what's on the outside and multiply it by each term on the inside. Well, what's 3 times x? 3x. What's 3 times 7? 21. And 3x plus 21 is my final answer. So, on your homework tonight, you don't have to do those arrows. But I'm just showing you that's how you use distributive property. You need to write the original expression and your box answer on your homework. There's no work to show here. Okay? You're just distributing that number on the outside. Okay, and you may agree with me on this. Would you rather multiply the single number in the back or in the front? I'd rather have the -2 out front. I'd rather write it -2 times n plus 4. What do you guys think? You care either way? I kind of prefer to have it out front. Is it okay for me to switch it like that?
Yes.
Which property says I can switch the order? Commutative property says, yeah, sure, I can move the -2 out front. I'm still multiplying each grouping the same way. All right, so now -2 times n would be -2n. That's it. So multiply n, negative 2 times, it's negative 2n. What's negative 2 times 4? Negative 8. So the part that you're probably going to miss on a question like this is your sign. Did anybody accidentally put a positive 8? No. Okay, so you've got to pay attention to the signs. A negative times a positive, that's only one negative. It's a negative product. Okay, now I want you to try to do C. See if you can get the sign right in your answer. What did you get for your answer? What did you get? Rania?
Negative 10y minus 15.
All right, negative 10y he got right, but what did he do wrong with the 15? It's supposed to be a positive, right? Because a negative times a negative is 2 negatives, which makes a positive, my even odd rule. Negative 5 times negative 3, 2 negatives, positive product. Negative 10y plus 15. You see how that's easy to mess up? Okay. Did anybody get that exactly right? Negative 10y plus 15? Okay, did y'all mess up the sign? Did you mess up the sign? All right, so on your homework tonight, that's going to be your pitfall on this section. Make sure you get the sign correct on your homework tonight. All right, we have one more example. Finding the area of geometric figures. What's a geometric figure? It's a shape. So we're going to focus on 2 shapes. You have one of each of these on your homework tonight. A rectangle and a triangle. Well, first you need to know the formula for the area of a rectangle. And what is that formula? Length times width. If you don't know it, write it down as a refresher. You need to know this for your homework tonight. Length times width. Well, in this case, what is the length? 2x plus 5. What is the width? Do you have to multiply it in that order if that's not, visually appealing to you? What can you do?
You can do the switching.
You can switch it and put the 7 out front. That's no problem. You can put the 7 out front. Now I want you to distribute it. Go ahead and distribute the 7. 7 times 2x and 7 times 5. What'd you get? 14x plus 14 from plus 35. Very good. Units squared. Make sure you square your label. Why? Because you found the area. Did you get 14x plus 35? Who got 14x plus 35? Okay, so we're catching on. All right, now what if it was a triangle? All right. Go ahead and draw this triangle in your notes and try to remember the formula for the area of a triangle. The formula, 1/2 base times height. Write that on your notes. 1/2 base times height. According to the commutative property, I can take half of either the base or the height, right? It doesn't matter. Well, which one would be easier to take half of? 12 or 8 minus 3y? Half of 12, right? What's half of 12? So if your height was that even number and your base had a variable, then just take half of the height. Does that make sense? Just whatever number is easier to take half of. So half of 12 is 6. Now what do you think you're going to do? Is that your final answer? No. You got to distribute. Go ahead and distribute. All right, what's 6 times 8? 48. And what's 6 times negative 3y? All right, oh, and we forgot to label. I forgot my label. Units squared. Or you could say square units, either one. All right, and if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for this lesson, section 2.2.